Record. Okay, so when we do introductions, we're going to do, again, for those of you who may have been part of the earlier ones, we're going to do a little bit different. So we want to know your name, your club, your role, whether it's a club role, district role, and then what does being a vibrant club mean to you? Like a bullet, one sentence, or a phrase. And we're going to capture everything that is discussed today in a Word file that's going to be sent out to you later this afternoon, along with the link to the YouTube recorded version and the survey. So I'm going to go ahead as you introduce yourselves and capture these, your sense of what a Be a Vibrant Club is. So let me go ahead and share my screen.
Actually, Jeff, it'll be much harder for us to see people if you do that.
Well, that's okay, but then they won't see what I'm typing, and I want to make sure that I capture their thoughts accurately. So we'll see how it goes. I've got a roster here, and we'll just kind of run through. But as I type this, I want to make sure I capture thoughts. So when we bring up this file, and I'm taking notes, if you're speaking, I do want to make sure that I've captured them accurately. So, Reg, why don't we start with you? Name, club, role, and what does being a vibrant club mean to you?
Reg Ryder, I'm with the Albuquerque Downtown Club. My role in the club, I'm a past president. I'm also the youth exchange officer. My role with the district, I am on the district Rotary Youth Exchange Committee. I'm the treasurer of that, and I'm also the treasurer for the district and the chair of the finance committee. Is that enough, Jeff?
That's great. So what does being a vibrant club mean to you?
A vibrant club to me means a club that is engaged and active, simply put.
Excellent. So I like that. Just a nice bullet from each of you as we go ahead and do introductions. Veronica?
Good morning. My name is Veronica. I'm with the Carlsbad Rotary Club. On the club level, I serve as the international chair, and on the district level, I am a lieutenant governor. A vibrant club is definitely being active in our community and our district and internationally, and just being active and a part of the group.
Is that okay? Did I miss anything?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dean Caldwell.
Yeah, I'm Dean Caldwell. I'm with the Taos Milagro Rotary Club. I'm the incoming co-president and for Taos Milagro Rotary. To me, being a vibrant club means that when you walk in the room with others or when you're in a Zoom room with others, you just feel an energy and a kind of sense of communication between the people there.
Sorry, you feel the, what was it, passion?
A sense of energy.
Perfect. You feel the energy. Agreed. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Kit, Cody?
Hi, I'm with the Metro Rotary Club, and I'm new. I've just been in a few months, so I don't really have a position. Although we have elections coming up, so I might be the projects manager, projects person. I have been participating in a few. They haven't done a lot since the COVID thing, but I've participated in a few activities. And I think Vibrant Club is one that's very active and engaged with the community and is making a name in the community, making people know what the club is.
Great, thank you. Donna?
Hello, my name is Donna Mellinger, and I belong to the Taos Milagro Rotary. Currently this year, I'm serving on the board for New Generations. And within the club, I'm involved in quite a few committees, and I just really have enjoyed my time. But what a vibrant club to me would be a club that's evolving all the time, changing, not staying the same. and increasing our members, not only age, but sex as well. More members.
I just put diversity. Would that be okay?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Meredith.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Meredith Stevenson with I guess we identify ourselves as the Albuquerque Downtown Club, oldest and largest. I'm a new member coordinator and also the coordinator of our ongoing service project helping food pantries in the area. A vibrant club to me is one that's connected with each other, with the community, and with Rotary as a whole.
Everything.
Whole has a W. Okay, excellent, thank you. Betty.
I'm Betty Young with the Volvo Rotary Group. I was past president, so I'm ditching out advice. I probably shouldn't say that, but I'm trying to help Willis Charmer, our president. You know, it's a very trying time with the pandemic. I am the assistant governor. I agree with what everybody has said up here, but I think one of the things that I've been doing is trying to make sure I emailing, Zooming, and try to visit various members in their home. I think to be able to keep connected with everybody. I think that's what we need to do during the pandemic to try and still stay vibrant. So once we get up and running, then we'll get back into the meeting.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting. These workshops originally were supposed to happen in, I think, May, when the pandemic was still relatively new. We were all trying to figure this out. Now it's been quite a while. And I think some of you have kind of alluded to it. Being a vibrant club during these times is not exactly the same as being a vibrant club if this wasn't happening. So thank you for mentioning that. Let's see. Clint Weber.
Howdy. We've got a beautiful blanket of white fluffy snow in Alpine today, but my shared passion for the passion question, I think that was number one, but is giving everybody the ability to fulfill their Rotary passion. If that could be highlighted in bold letters in all caps, that would be spectacular. I've been involved with Rotary since the 1970s. I'm currently an LG and RILA team member since 2012 and 2010. And I'm on the Southeast Action team. I live in Alpine and I'm with Marfa. And we're currently working on a project to have a lot more younger people in the area clubs.
Excellent. Thank you, Clint. Steve Buckley.
I'm from the Rotary Club of Truth or Consequences, and I'm no longer on the board after, I guess, 8 years serving on the board. I'm just an advisor to the president, and I also do our community grants. And that's the president of the Rotary Club calling me now. I'll call him back later. Anyhow, I think a vibrant club is one who's actively engaged in the community, especially at these trying times. And in many ways, I think it's important for us to be very visual in that we're reaching out to other groups that are struggling and assisting them, whether it's financially or through using our Zoom that we have to engage other groups. But it's just really engaging the community, I think, at this point. Carrying the flag, it's a good way to look at it, waving it and carrying the flag.
Great, thank you.
The Rotary flag, I should say.
Great. Tim Sheehan.
Good morning. I'm Tim Sheehan with the Rotary Club of Albuquerque. I think actually people have already stated some of the comments, but I think an energized club that is still active in especially these days, still active in the community. Out and about.
Great. And your audio is a little bit muffled.
Is that better now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sorry, my headset, I forgot to charge it last night, so I'm working off my auxiliary one.
Got it. Thank you, Tim.
Sure.
Well, I don't know.
Bianca?
Hold on, I gotta switch phones.
Good morning. I'm Bianca Cheney from the Roswell Rotary Club. I am the Club Service Projects Chair and the Youth Exchange Chair, plus member of a couple of other committees. District level, I'm on the Youth Exchange Committee and for like the past 11 years. A vibrant club to me would be somebody that the community would recognize. I want the community to know who we are and what it is that we can do to make the community a better place.
Excellent. Thank you.
No, this is a totally different.
Billy?
Yeah, ain't nothing like the first.
Hi, my name's Billy Gvetti.
Yeah.
I am a member of the downtown
Yes.
club. Just a few months into.
I'm on meeting, guys. I gotta get back on.
International Service Committee. So I think a vibrant club is one that is keen on providing the services locally, nationally, and at the international level. Also passionate about the WASH programs in East Africa. Thank you.
Great.
Great, thank you. Okay, let me scroll. Kim?
Yeah, good morning. My name is Tim Parker. I'm with the Pecos Valley Rotary in Roswell, New Mexico. I serve the club as the membership chair, which has been very interesting the last 12, 14 months. And then as well, I served the district as past district governor 2010 and 11. I served the district as the Human Trafficking Awareness Initiative chair as well. Thank you and good morning.
And what does being a vibrant club mean to you?
Vibrant Club is making an impact, whether in the local, regional, national, or international venues.
Great. Thank you, Tim. Kim Osborne.
Good morning. I'm Kim Osborne. I'm from Levington, New Mexico Club, and I serve as the membership chair. And Vibrant Club to me is looking for and adding new members with new ideas, not necessarily young, but people with young ideas that are willing to share and meet with us together to further the club goals. And I'll just apologize because I'll be hopping in and out. I added this onto my calendar late last night, and so I've got some other things going on.
Understood. Thank you.
Jeff?
Yes.
I know there's going to be a lot of in and out. Could we take just a moment and get a screenshot of everybody for the district news Facebook page? If you have a camera, please turn it on, and if you don't mind, get close to it and look happy for a moment. And since Arturo isn't here, good morning. Good morning. Thank you. I think we got it.
Got it, Sonny?
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Let me go back to where we were. Okay. Eric Collins.
Hey, I'm Eric Collins. I'm the current public image chair for the Clovis Rotary Club and the incoming president-elect. At the district level, I've become the somewhat de facto graphic designer for the district and video developer and all things techie and nerdy. Being a vibrant club to me means that we are the beacon that all other service organizations around us look to emulate, that we are the best practices. We are what the ideal service organization looks like.
Beacon has an N. Excellent. Thank you. Humberto.
Okay, hi, good morning. This is Humberto Calzada from El Paso Camino Real Rotary Club. I am working with the membership committee, and a vibrant club for me is an action club. It's a club that makes projects to help or engage the people around us. That's it.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, just a few more. Catherine? Catherine? Okay.
Excuse me, I got in a little late into this meeting. What I think a vibrant club is, or I should tell you, I'm with Taos Rotary, and I am the current co-president-elect along with Dean Caldwell. I think a vibrant club is one that keeps a high profile, has interest in everything that's going on in their community, and participates in moving the club forward and growing.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Wendy?
I'm Wendy Anderson. Didn't realize I had a frog in my throat, sorry. I'm from the Sunrise Rotary Club, where 8 o'clock is an hour later than 7 o'clock. I am assistant secretary, and I am also the service project chairperson. Being a vibrant club to me means being inspirational. And how are we inspirational? By the way we approach the things that we do. The attitude that is seen in us is contagious, and other people will catch it. And they want to become part of our club.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, just a few more. Nellie?
Hi, good morning. My name's Nelly Avila. I'm here with Jeremy Velasquez, and we are both part of the Presidio Rotary Club. We are fairly new, and we joined last year, and we haven't been very active per se, but a vibrant club for us.
Just means, to me, diverse demographic. I think someone touched on it, energetic, and like the person just said a minute ago, just people wanting to join and being noticeable, as opposed to a club who's stagnant and kind of real private and standoffish. To me, just people want to join.
Great, thank you. Before we turn over to our district governor chain, because I think they're all on, and my colleague Bruce Bordner. Oh, it looks like someone else just joined. Abel, are you on, and can you unmute? We're doing introductions.
Yes. Hi, good morning. Good morning. My name is Abel Legaspi, current president for Sunrise Rotary Club of El Paso.
And we're, what does being a vibrant club mean to you?
Engagement, collaboration. I would say that having the membership active and doing what Rotary is all about, which is service above self. So yeah, I would, I'm looking through some of the items here, but it's a vibrant club is especially now more than ever during this pandemic. It's that engagement between each membership, between each member.
Great, thank you. Kathy Fuller.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Kathy Fuller with the Rotary Club of Alamogordo in the great town of Alamogordo, New Mexico. And I'm currently the co-chair for Rotary Leadership Institute for the district. And a vibrant club for me would be folks who want to learn. And so I would encourage and invite each of you, if you haven't already completed Rotary Leadership Institute, to do so when we start offering the courses again next year.
Thank you. Okay, so before I introduce the District Governor Chain and my partner, Bruce Bortner, is there anyone else that I missed? Okay, not hearing any. So for Bruce and Governor Sonny and Governor Bob and Governor John, is there anything you would like to add to this list?
Yes. It kind of builds on what Jeremy and Presidio said. In addition to being diverse and energetic and inclusive, I want to say a vibrant club is irresistible. People can't stay away from the meetings and definitely want to be a part of us.
Just like our district governor.
Oh, Jeff. What a nice thing to say. Thank you.
I'll add to that. To me, when I think of a vibrant club, I think of the old TV show Cheers. And the theme from that was, you want to be where everyone knows your name. Hi, Norm.
Yeah.
Norm.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, this is getting.
I'll add, for me, a vibrant club is boils down to being active, growing, and fun. I'm from the Del Norte Rotary Club.
Did you say active, growing?
And fun.
And fun. Thank you. Anything else? John, did you have anything to contribute? It's not already.
I would say positive, create positive change.
Excellent. All right. Well, folks, we are done. Have a great rest of your Saturday. That's great.
Back to bed. Yeah.
No, that's great. You know, you saw a lot of common themes. And what we're going to be doing today is kind of going over a good number of the themes that you already brought up, but taking a little bit of a deeper dive. You know, what does that actually mean? At the club level, what strategies do we need to think about to accomplish the things that you just brought up? So what we're going to do, you all should have received the Be a Vibrant Club brochure. It's 4 pages. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and bring that up so we can take a quick look at it. So one thing to know, I think I mentioned it in the emails that went out. The 4th page, which has these kind of best practices, if you will, there are a number of phrases in bold. They are hyperlinks. And so if you have the electronic version, you can click on those, and most of them will take you to files that are on the Rotary.org website that you can download and view. A couple of them will take you to actual pages in Rotary.org. So for example, the Brand Center here will take you to the Brand Center website. So if you haven't done so, please peruse those documents. We're not going to look at them today. We're going to talk about them, but it would be good to view them, download them, share them with your club. They are very helpful. And so I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so we can take a little bit take a better look at this. Was there a comment? Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through each of these for maybe 5-6 minutes. Some of them we're going to do as a large group. Some of them we're going to do in breakout rooms with facilitators. And what we want to hear is, you know, we're going to talk about the best practice, kind of introduce it, and then get your input on whether it's something your club does well. And if so, we'd like to kind of hear how you do it. Is your club having a challenge doing so? And again, you know, we'll just note this is challenging because, we're not going to throw anyone under the bus. But we'd like to hear what's working well, what's not working well, and maybe some strategies to do this better so that we can be a more vibrant club. That's kind of the purpose of the workshop. So let's start with the first one. Oh, and I should mention, the first 3 pages of this document are very interesting. It's a best practice from another Rotary Club, so it's worth taking a look at that, but we don't really want to focus on that today. We really want to get into the meat of these kind of themes and practices and what it means to your club and how you're doing it. Decide what you'd like your club to be like in 3 to 5 years is the first one. There are a couple of documents to take a look at that are very helpful. The Rotary Club Health Check, which kind of takes you through a checklist of things to consider. If you're an incoming president or you're going to be on the board next year, it'd be good to take a look at these things, especially over the next 3 or 4 months as you're considering your planning and pets training, things like that. So decide what you'd like your club to be like in 3 to 5 years. I'm going to stop sharing so we can talk about it. From your experience in your clubs, I'd be interested in hearing, what your club may do well in that area. Maybe if your club doesn't do that well, is there a particular challenge or an opportunity to think longer term than just a year? So who would like to volunteer deciding what your club would like to be like in 3 to 5 years? What are your thoughts? And again, I'm going to capture that, but I'm not going to share the screen unless I need to verify if I caught something correctly. But who would like to introduce what you'd like your club to be like in 3 to 5 years? Is it working well? Is it something your club is doing? Is it something your club is not doing?
Can we do a poll, Jeff? Can we find out who's got a strategic plan?
I didn't set up a poll. All we could do is,
How about just raising hands then?
yeah, we could just, if you want, we could just raise hands. How many of your clubs have a strategic plan?
We do.
Okay. And is that plan longer than 1 year?
Yeah.
Okay. So for those of you who are in clubs that, let's start with the ones that have it. So is that working well? What is your experience with having a long range kind of plan for the club? Are you finding that it's working? Do you find that there's a focus on kind of a longer term direction for the club? What's your experience with that? And then we'll hear from a few that don't. Meredith?
Even though we have a strategic plan in place, it's not very specific, and I'm not impressed at how it's carried out. I think it needs to be, even though it's a 5-year plan, it needs to be revisited every year and updated.
Yep.
And communicated to the rest of the club. You asked originally, where would you like your club to be in 3 to 5 years? Well, I'd like us to get back to 200 members. We're at 170 right now. I think it's very important for our club to be recognized in the community. Something struck me at, was it the grant workshop, whichever Zoom that Brad Howard, is that his name, was on?
Yeah, the foundation training on November 7th.
The polling, right. When the Rotary bus pulled up in some town in India, a little kid was watching it pull up, and it had the Rotary banner on it. And as the people got off, the kid grinned and said, polio. Now there is branding. When the kid knows, when he sees the Rotary symbol, it means polio. I want our club to have that kind of brand in our community where every single person in the community knows what we stand for. And I don't care what it is. We need a focus group to figure that out.
Yeah.
But I want us known. We are not known. Okay. And I'd like, once upon a time, we had monthly service projects and even a brochure that announced it. I mean, we've got a large club. You've got to put paper out there and email announcements. And now it's kind of haphazard in spite of COVID. So I want us to get back to monthly, maybe even weekly, like these people in Minnesota did. Pick a service project and get visible. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. Dean, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have, this is Taos Milagro Rotary. 3 years ago, why we had an all-day workshop, had a consultant come in, and we made up a strategic plan. The problem is that we don't go back to it and look at it. We don't follow it, and it just seems like a lot of effort that really doesn't go anywhere. So the problem really isn't in the creation of the strategic plan, it's in the implementation.
Yeah.
So for those of you who agree, including myself, you can hit your reactions at the bottom and put up something like a thumbs up, like that. Both of you hit on what is probably the greatest challenge. It's not the development of the plan. That's pretty easy. It's the execution, the monitoring, the adjusting when things don't go the way the plan says. I mean, who planned for this? And so the execution of plans is challenging. You've got to, I'm saying you meaning all of us. We have to keep up with these. They are living, breathing, dynamic documents. They are not paperweights. They're not book stops. And so for Dean, in your case, you brought a consultant in. I'm a big fan of consultants. The problem is the consultant leaves, and then it's like, well, now what do we do? So just think about, for those of you who are in clubs that do have a plan, what your strategy is or should be for continual monitoring, adjusting when necessary. And we'll talk about a few specific ideas for this as well, but that is a biggie. Who else would like to contribute about this 3 to 5 year plan notion? Steve? You're on mute.
I'd like to say one thing.
Go ahead, Betty.
One thing that is a concern to me, and I want to tell you that I am in the oil and gas business. So every morning I get up at 5 and I read articles from all over the world about the oil and gas industry. And they've been talking about the pandemic. My concern is that it is a concern, but we need to be aware of it. Once the vaccine comes out, in order to get the whole world vaccinated, it's going to take 2 to 3 years. We need to keep polio in front of us along with the vaccine going. I don't want the pandemic and the vaccine to overshadow what we've done with polio since 1985. I just want to tell you guys this because I see that vaccination will take everybody's attention away from everything else, and they'll just focus on that just right now. That's what's happening. Yeah, it's a serious situation. But we need to keep polio in front of our eyes, in front of our nose, and keep talking about it with our clubs and everything as we go forward in part of your strategic plan, because International has done so well since 1985, and we're trying to get rid of it. I think we have, what, 2 more countries that need to be taken care of? Is that correct?
Yes, yes, it is. We actually started in 79, if you count our work in the Philippines. But yes, 2 more countries.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. So keep that. I don't
Thank
mean to
you.
interrupt.
No, we will definitely need to do that. Steve, go ahead.
Steve, are you?
Yeah, I'm unmuted now. We've had, over the years, we've had several strategic plans. They don't always link to each other each time. And then we get somebody who's more energetic and they do a new one. We spend most of our time just doing the current projects we have. And as a small club and having, you know, about 12 different things we do a year, we're still busy with that. So we don't really have new things. And I always look for new things to do. And I think that's where some strategic plan, we get tied up into all the stuff we normally do. And of course, it's always membership and it's always, you know, foundation, you know, trying to raise money for the foundation. But, you know, I think that plans are great and takes a lot of effort to create them, but you're right. We don't tend to go back and review them and realize they're a living document and they constantly change and they need to be upgraded on an annual basis.
Thank you. Sunny, looks like you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to remind us that given that the topic today is Be a Vibrant Club, it's useful to think about the connection between having and implementing a plan and the empowering of the people in the club. You know, it's what's great about the plan isn't that you have a plan and it's on paper and you can pat yourself on the back for having a plan. It's because people have a future to live into and a set of goals on which everyone's aligned that bring you together and get you up in the morning. So I'd like to put a little note of inspiration into the whole process.
Great. So one more input on this notion of 3 to 5 year planning. And if you're with a club that doesn't have one, what is your thought about the value of having one and what that may look like if your club was to go about doing this?
I think the plan is a good idea because it gives us direction. And in our daily activities as Rotarians, we get very, very busy with jobs and doing other community support because most of us are involved with many community groups. So it gives us who are actively involved in the community some direction, and it gives you a long-term direction, which can transition if it's done in conjunction with the incoming presidents. If you have like 1 or 2 incoming, you know who they're going to be, they can be part of that plan and engage. So at least for a 3-year cycle, you have a plan that everybody's in agreement with, and that's usually the same board. So that helps.
So along with what you're saying, I'm hearing some feedback. Along with what you're saying, one of the reasons why we can do long range planning is because we often have an understanding of who the future leaders are going to be. Because what you don't want is a series of 1-year plans that start over every year. So if your club is going to be engaged in planning, let's say for this upcoming Rotary year, and the club already knows who the president is going to be for the following year, which the club should, it's important for that person to be part of the process. So they already have some ownership, even though they're a year away from serving in the club leadership role. So we have that kind of succession planning kind of built into how Rotary wants to do things. So it's easier to do a long range plan as long as you've got those people involved. You don't want to surprise them and say, here's your plan, do with it as you will, right?
Yeah, and I would say that if an incoming president wasn't part of the initial planning, they may not put the energy behind it and then choose to change it. And then the board is sitting there saying, well, we put all this effort into creating this plan, but the new president wants to do something totally different. And so it's disheartening.
Yeah.
And especially when you're trying to create energy and do fundraising, if it's a project where you need money, it makes it harder.
So as a seed to plant, there are clubs who identify future leaders late for various reasons. Some of them are very legitimate, like they had someone in mind and that person had to leave or resign. But it is so important to try to stick to the Rotary timeline of identifying who those future leaders are, not just for this, but for other reasons too. And so if your club tends to struggle with identifying people on time, the district can help with that. Assistant governors can help with that. Sonny or Bob for next year or John the following year can help with that as well. It's important to identify these people on time so that they can be part of processes like this. Okay, anyone want to add anything else before we get on to the next item, which is very similar?
I would like to say that
Oh, go ahead, Wendy.
Go ahead.
Having a plan, just like in business, you plan for as long as you want to be around. So without a succession plan, that's something we've been talking about a lot at Sunrise, is our succession plan. How we're going to train people to be part of next year's group, that we have to have a succession plan, but we have to have milestones. So we have to have those 1-year plans in the midst of those 5-year plans, in the midst of those 15-year plans, because I plan on being Rotary for at least another 15 years. So,
right. And if you don't have those 1-year milestones, how do you know if you're doing well, right? How do you know if we need to make adjustments? So it's really important to have those kind of 1-year milestones. Excellent. Okay, why don't we go ahead and move on to the next one? You'll see there's a lot of synergy between them. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. Decide on annual goals and enter them into Rotary Club Central. So I'm going to stop sharing. We'll talk about that for a minute. Plans should have goals. They should be goals that we can control, that we can operate on and focus on. So if a club has a goal like world peace, in spite of the fact that that's a wonderful goal, your club is not responsible for world peace. So should it be a goal of your club? They should be things that are measurable. So if you're going to put goals into Rotary Club Central, they need to be things that you can graph and chart and monitor. Because remember, we talked earlier about there's nothing worse than having a plan that's just sitting there and we're not monitoring it. Well, the only way you can monitor it is if you're measuring how the plan is working, right? How are we doing? Are we making progress? Is the trend going up or is the trend going down? And if the trend is going down, why keep doing it, right? So just like we did with the first one, what is your experience with club goals? And for those of you who are in leadership positions in clubs, what is your experience with Rotary Club Central, which is where you enter goals and where you then do that ongoing monitoring? What's your experience? What works well? What's not working well? What are your thoughts?
Most people don't know it exists in clubs other than the leadership, presidents, past presidents, because they had to enter it in and it may get talked about a little bit, but it's not something the members look at or really see. But I would tell you, when it comes to setting goals and making goals, it needs to be from the bottom up, from the committees. And if they have goals, then you're engaging them. And if they're engaged, they'll have a better chance for success. But it needs to come, every committee could have their own goals, you know, and have that part of your strategic plan. And therefore they've agreed to it. And there's a succession plan of the co-chair to take over or person to take over later would have the same goal and it would drive them forward. But most people that aren't been in Rotary a long time don't know that there's a website that, you know, that it's all listed at, and they rarely, and the problem is they don't get updated very often. You know, a president may not update it until time an award.
Boy. Okay, number of thoughts. That was great.
Hey, can I add something on that?
Yeah.
When I was president of our club, we did populate that, and yeah, I'm a list maker. That's the way my life runs. That a list is something to do immediately. But we updated that, and it was a way to take small bites out of our overall goals.
Yep.
And the result that year was we took the large club award for the district. Yep. Because we did meet a lot of our goals, despite the fact that our membership struggled.
Okay. Well, boy, my head is flooded with thoughts. This is great. So I would just add a few things, and then we want to hear from each others. So it is true that most club members don't have a reason to go in and look at Rotary Club Central. That's true. But what a great opportunity for club assemblies, for the board to be in front of the club, take the data out of Rotary Club Central, take the how are we doing, and show it to the membership. So even if they're not in Rotary Club Central, you can still present the results or the progress that the club is making so that you have that member engagement. I've seen clubs set up club assemblies because, you know, it's recommended that we do a club assembly once a quarter, and they talk about other things which are fine, but what about how the club is doing? How else is the membership going to know? So it's one thing, just as a thought. I liked Reg's comment about taking it kind of a piece at a time. You know, it doesn't make sense to check how you're doing against goals at the end of the Rotary year. Because if that's the only time you're looking at it, then you don't have an opportunity to make any adjustments if the plan isn't working. And it does kind of make it that kind of bite size. How did we do this month? How did we do this quarter? It makes it a lot easier if you need to make adjustments to the plan. Again, it's kind of a living, breathing document. The other point that was made was getting information in. So as a reminder, most of the information that goes into Rotary Club Central has to be entered manually, usually by the club secretary. So things like volunteer hours, service projects, youth programs, social media, public image, all of that has to be entered in. And if it's not entered in, then it's as if it didn't exist. The only ones that are automatically updated is what Rotary knows regularly, which is membership and foundation. So as long as the secretary is submitting those monthly reports on attendance and membership, and as long as the foundation giving is captured, it's going to be there. Everything else is manual. And so it's important for whoever's going to do it, the secretary usually, to make sure that information is entered and updated regularly.
Jeff?
So, yes.
It might be useful for everyone to know that Rotary Club Central's Goal Center offers the possibility of choosing 25 different goals, and that only 13 are required, according to President Holger, to get the Rotary citation. So picking any 13 goals that appeal to you and setting them in a way that works for you and then making them happen is the criterion for getting the Rotary citation.
I recall a time when we didn't have Rotary Club Central.
Wow.
And we didn't have a repository to put all that stuff. So we did it ourselves. We just had it on a Excel spreadsheet or, you know, but Rotary was so smart to set up an area for clubs to enter in that information, generate the reports, which is really nice. You know, you don't want to be looking at a lot of text. You want to be looking at graphs. Is it up, down, sideways? So Rotary, just Rotary Club Central itself is a fantastic tool that Rotary has developed for us to use, and both entering the information and monitoring it and making adjustments. Dean, you've got your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering, it seems to me like one of the problems is measuring the goals and figuring out whether we actually have achieved them.
Yep. Yeah. That's we talk about in Rotary Leadership Institute, there's a section on strategic planning, and we talk about SMART goals. That's the acronym SMART. The M in SMART is measurable. If it's not measurable, it's really hard to know if you're making progress or what basis. We don't want to use intuition. We really like to use data to kind of drive our evaluation. So if you've got goals that are not measurable, first of all, there's nothing to put into Rotary Club Central other than a statement of what you're trying to accomplish. But if it's not measurable, there's nothing really to monitor against to know if you're making progress. So really good point. What
Hey,
else?
Jeff?
Yes, go ahead.
We have a literacy program where we read to kids in schools when we can. And that's been one of our biggest problems is how do we measure our goals in that literacy program? Because really the benefit to these kids is many years out.
Yep. So again, you know, if you want to be a vibrant, well, I don't want to sound too preachy. If your club is successful without a plan and without goals, it's luck. And luck is not sustainable. So having a plan, having goals, having the members engaged, which someone mentioned earlier, understand what our role is in helping accomplish those goals, that is a real sign of a vibrant club. Okay, any other thoughts on that? We'll want to go to the next one.
Just one last thought, Jeff. It occurred to me in the past in doing strategic plans for large organizations, you have a strategic plan, and this is a military term, but you also have to have a tactical plan. And that's your daily or monthly plan to make the strategic plan work.
Yep. And someone had mentioned committees. You know, committees generally are doing much of the work, not all of it. And so those tactical plans that Reg talked about, and someone else mentioned it, it's almost like, what is the tactical plan that the membership committee is going to do to help accomplish that goal? And what is the tactical plan that the youth committee is going to do to accomplish that goal? So committees often best function when they're functioning under a tactical plan that they can focus on rather than just doing things.
Yeah.
You know, it's great to do things, but just doing things doesn't mean we're making progress towards goals. So I think that's an excellent point, Reg. Okay, anything else before we move on to number 3?
Yeah, one more comment.
Go ahead.
I think one of the things I've noticed in management over the years, it used to be when you had these goals, you must achieve these goals. And if you didn't, you failed, okay? I think one of the things that we have to realize is that when we make these goals, we did it with the best knowledge that we have today. But if something changes, which I think is going to change, it is okay that you may not have met that goal 100%. Your goals are excellent. I used to be, oh, it had to be perfect. But after this pandemic, I've noticed, you know what, it is okay. You try to achieve it. All right, if you have a roadblock, get around it and figure out how you're going to achieve it or make a change in your plan. I think we need to let our people know it is okay. We're going forward.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think Sunny was the one that mentioned inspiration and motivation. It's important to make sure that the club is engaged and doesn't focus on what you were alluding to, Betty. Well, we didn't accomplish our goals, so now we're all sulking and we're unhappy. It should drive us, especially if the discussion is, okay, let's understand and let's think about why we didn't accomplish this goal and what can we do better, let's say in the next quarter. That's why it's important to have that ongoing monitoring. And in a club assembly, as I said, I mean, that would be a great point of discussion. Here is our membership goal for the year. We're a quarter of the way in. We're not on track to meet the goal. What can we do differently? What's happening? And that's a great way to engage the members rather than having them be sulking and unhappy, because they're just going to phase out.
It's counterproductive. The whole point of a goal is to be empowered by it.
Right. It does suggest that you don't want to set such a lofty goal that it's not attainable. That's another part of SMART. If you're a club that's 20 members and your goal is 100, that's probably not attainable. So it's good to have goals that are achievable within reach, but not so minimal that you just wake up in the morning and you achieve your goal. It does take work, but you want to think about what's reasonable for us. So excellent point. Okay, we're going to move on to the third one and then take a break. How's everyone doing so far?
Waking up.
Waking up. All right. All right, so we're going to go back to our document. Hold club meetings that keep members engaged and informed. Boy, there's a lot to uncover here. Many of you in that initial discussion we had about being a vibrant club, a lot of you talked about engaged members. A lot of you mentioned that. It's not easy to keep people engaged. It's not easy to keep people engaged when we're not meeting in person, right? It's a unique challenge, but we still need to do that. And there are different ways that we're seeing clubs morph and innovate during this challenging time to keep members engaged. So what is your experience, your club's experience with keeping members engaged? What's working, what's not? What are some of your ideas?
I have found it very valuable that we have started a monthly newsletter. Abel calls it recalculations. And it not only includes what we did that past month, but how it affected us and what our highlights are. And when people see that, wow, I forgot that we did that and that was great,
yeah,
it sparks interest to do something else. And I'm really amazed at when the club members respond back to Abel's newsletter, the positivity. They're excited about it. And they're saying things like, I hope this goes on. This is a great thing. And that takes innovation. And Abel put that innovation in because we've never had that before. And allowing that innovation and then capturing it so that we know that it's valuable and meaningful. I think that's important.
That's a great point. It's interesting. I heard a number of years ago, I'm a quality professional. That's my career. Years ago, as I was just learning about what quality was all about, the speaker who was, nationally known, he basically said, we can't think of anything as negative. Everything is an opportunity. Because if we think about it as a negative, we're not going to be engaged. But if we're informed and we think about opportunities, it naturally engages people. And even that language is helpful, because if people are saying negative language, it resonates. And it just doesn't lead to a group. People don't typically say, well, in spite of how bad everything is, I'm just going to drive ahead. That's just not naturally how we interact. So great point. Who else? Member engagement.
I think it's difficult and it takes extra effort in these trying times. A lot of times, some of our members don't do computer stuff, and therefore you got to call them and personally talk to them or swing by their house and check on them to keep them engaged or aware of what's going on. But I will tell you, our president has done a phenomenal job of creating a Zoom meeting and bringing in really good speakers. I would tell you, in the 8 years that I've been involved with our club, we've had the best speakers ever since we've had Zoom. We don't have great, we don't have massive participation. To be honest with you, there's a lot of people who are tired of Zoom, especially if they're in business and they're in government. They're on Zoom every day and they're burnt out.
Yep, everyone's boxed.
Yeah, you know what the neat thing about Zoom is we had a presentation, a speaker from the U.S. State Department, and she actually presented her presentation from her desk in Washington, D.C. You're not restricted by geography.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the advantages. That's where, initially all of this, having meetings on Zoom, it was viewed negatively, like, oh, we can't get together, fellowship is so important, which it is, But opportunities come out of that, having speakers from around the country, around the world participate. It does provide opportunities. It's still not ideal, but that's how we should be thinking. That's a great point. What else?
Jeff?
Yes.
In my experience, two things matter greatly in member engagement. One is it's absolutely imperative that every Rotarian experience being important and making a difference. However one would do that, you know, and sometimes it might be just asking to call someone. The other thing is predictability is the enemy. You know, the more you have routine, the more everything is the same as everything else, the more people will get bored and go away. So injecting an element of surprise and delight can make a difference in member engagement.
Yeah, especially now, you know, Zoom meetings, all, you know, after a while, someone said it, they all feel the same, right?
Yeah.
So our awesome district public image chair, Arturo, and I assume it's his idea, Sonny, you would know differently, but he has this check-in Tuesday. I believe it is check-in Tuesday. Take the opportunity and contact someone. What a great idea. Because again, you know, meeting attendance is for a lot of clubs down right now because some people just they're not comfortable with Zoom. So that idea of checking in Tuesday kind of goes back to what you all said. Keep in contact with people. Find out how they're doing, especially if we're not seeing them in meetings or they're not participating in service projects. We don't want people just being members by paying dues.
And there is a horrific level of isolation and loneliness right now.
Yeah.
Not just in Rotary, but in the world. So
Yep.
everything we can do to pierce that will make a difference.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting. I agree with you, Sonny, on that isolation, and the Zoom is great for the meeting. But I did pop into a Rotarian's house last week. You all know her very well. She lives by herself. We were talking about quilting, and then we started talking about Rotary, and we sat down, talked probably for about an hour. And then I left and I went, wow, that face-to-face social distancing, if you can do it, go by and visit a Rotarian in person, especially those that are isolated. It made a world of difference. And I agree with you, Sonny. We all need to step up, and sometimes it's kind of hard for us to do that. Then I also did a teleconference call with a guy, and he's another Rotarian. He's working with the pandemic and the COVID-19. Wow, an hour conversation with him. It touched his life and my life, and we were talking about Rotary. It's interesting. We just need to reach out a little bit more individually, one-on-one, by telephone or in person.
One other point, and then we'll take a break, and we're going to do a breakout room when we reconvene. The notion. What?
You ought to see yourself.
Oh yeah, well, Sonny had a hat on, so I thought I put. You know, it's interesting. Zoom set up all of these little tricks like virtual backgrounds and all these little effects. Yeah, it's fun, but it also is engaging to a point. Now, if I'm doing this at work and I'm meeting with the senior leadership, I'm not going to put on the glasses. I'm just not. Unless they do. If they do, I will follow suit. So just one thing before we take a break about engagement. Engagement is not satisfaction. So when you participate in something like a customer satisfaction survey, how satisfied are you? Engagement is beyond that. People may be satisfied, but they're not going to step up. We talked about that earlier. They're not going to participate. They may be satisfied and they're paying their dues, right? So the reason why Rotary talks about engagement and not satisfaction is because they recognize that we want people to be satisfied, but we really want them to be more than satisfied. We want them to be driven. We want them to be motivated. In the work environment, engagement is often measured by how much people are willing to do beyond what they're paid to do. So if I just do my job and I'm happy, that's fine. But if I'm engaged with my company, I'm probably going to do more than the minimum requirements for me to do my job. It's things like that. And so we talked about having members be involved in projects, having them be involved in activities. We want them to be engaged. And so when we're thinking about surveys, because a lot of clubs do member surveys, we really want to get a sense of engagement. Satisfaction is nice, but it's almost like the minimum. Does that make sense? Engagement is a higher bar than being satisfied.
Very good. Yeah.
Okay, any other thoughts on engagement? By the way, someone mentioned it earlier too, when you're developing all your plans and your action plans and your tactical plans, the more members are involved in those plans, that's going to help with engagement too, because they feel that ownership. It's not just all these people are doing things for me and for others, they're part of it. So that was a great point raised earlier. Okay, it is 10 after 9 by my computer. Let's take a 15-minute break. We'll reconvene at 9:25, and we're gonna start with a breakout room, but I'll explain how that's gonna work. So let's go ahead and take a break, and we'll reconvene at 9:25. Okay. So there are a few people that did not join today who registered. So instead of having 4 breakout rooms, we're going to do 3. And I'm going to ask our G chain, Sunny, Bob, and John, to be our 3 facilitators. We're going to have a kind of a similar discussion as we had with the first 3. Let me bring up the one we're going to talk about. Communicate openly in your club. Share information at club meetings, the website, social media. We've heard a little bit about this before, but this is also related to branding. We talked about that, about being a vibrant club, making sure the community knows who we are, and all of that. So we're going to have a breakout session where we're going to be discussing what's working well, challenges, strategies for maybe more effective communication within the club and outside of the club. And again, I'm going to ask Sunny and Bob and John to facilitate. And we're going to take 15 minutes. So we'll reconvene at 9:45. We may not have time for breakouts. We may just, we may not have time for report back on what you all discussed, maybe like 1 or 2 key points that each team came up with. But if you do take notes, go ahead and send them to me and I'll include them when I send them out later. If you don't worry about it. All right, here we go. 15 minutes. I want to make sure I've got everyone assigned. Yes. 15 minutes. We reconvene at 9:45. Here we go.
Yay. And Jeff's here too. And Bruce. Wow.
Hey, John.
Hi. How's everybody doing?
Okay.
Doing great. On my 3rd cup of coffee. I'm awake.
Hey, Reg.
Hey.
And Billy's on with us too.
Yes, I am, Meredith.
Hello, Billy. I'm so glad you decided to take this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Billy, how did you find out about us?
I'm a member of the RCA.
Rotary Club of Albuquerque.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, we are.
I think this is an all. I'm sorry. I think this is an all Albuquerque group. It just made sense because a number of you, not all the same club, but all Albuquerque. It just seemed to kind of put you all together. So.
And what's our topic?
Communication.
Huh.
You know, Jeff, you know, I can kick this off a little bit. You know, in our club, When I joined the Rotary Club of Albuquerque, we had 350 members. And that was not that far back. That was 2006, 2007. We've gone down, we kept going down and down, but there kept being more clubs in Albuquerque. And I'm getting to my communications thing here in a minute. But I did a survey, I did a nose count, so to speak. When I was president of the club, there were, I'd say we had 350 members in 2006. I said, well, how many members are there today in the Albuquerque metro area? What number do you think I came up with? 350, approximately. But we had 7 clubs. And so basically Rotary had stagnated. But anyway, back to communications. When I joined the club, Rex, God bless Rex Allard, but Rex was doing the newsletter, and it was a production. It was a monthly production on paper. It had not gone electronic yet. And it was a great communications device. Everybody loved to get their picture in the newsletter. And that was the competition a lot. To make sure you got in the newsletter this year. Rex, as he got older, was challenged with doing that. And we started doing it electronically, which challenged Rex even more. The demand was to do it electronically. And it finally went away. So we went for a while with Ann, our executive assistant, doing electronic newsletters. I think what we've arrived at in our club, and I absolutely love it, it's our weekly reminder. We have technically a weekly newsletter. And Meredith, you know what it's about. It's a club reminder, a reminder of the meeting on Monday. It always comes out on Friday. But if you look at that reminder, it's about a 3 or 4 page newsletter. It's got all the high points for the week. And you can catch up with what's going on in the club. Whose birthday is coming up, who's doing what, what's the next speaker, et cetera, et cetera. And I love that communications device. It gives you those weekly bites, the weekly view of what's going on in the world.
I agree.
Anyway.
I always look forward to
Our club does the same thing.
Hey, Tim.
Hello there. But I agree with that newsletter. I mean, that's good constant contact, and those are great because they're just, you can buzz them real quickly, see what's going on, and move on. But you get updated of what's happening at the time.
Yeah, it's got hot links in it. You can go explore the district newsletter. You can go do this, do that. It doesn't know how much time you want to spend on it.
Reg, is that something that your club just created by themselves, or are they using Rotary Club Central to do that, or Club Runner to do that?
Meredith, what are we using? Is it something just self-created?
I'm thinking Ann does it through, it's
Constant
not
Comment?
through Club Runner. It's
Constant
something
Contact.
else. But it's
yeah.
just our club.
And does
And
that
it's something
communication, I'm sorry.
It is something that's just evolved over time, is what we came up with as the way to do it. I remember when I was president, that was when the newsletter fell on hard times. And it was just, we discovered that a weekly or monthly newsletter was just not possible and not viable.
Yeah.
So we kind of went to this.
I do wish that we would pay the same sort of attention to our website. I think they're doing pretty well with Facebook, but our website has nothing useful on it. You click on anything, it goes nowhere. So,
Well, you know, websites, I've got an opinion on those because I'm in several organizations on websites, and it's always a struggle to keep those websites updated. I like these more frequent communications more than a website. And a website's useful for some things, but I don't know that you can use it as a constant communications device. It just doesn't work
fine
as
for
well.
us within the club, but we're also talking about communicating with our community, the district, the rest of the world. And that's through the
Yep.
website. That's
Yeah.
not the Rotary reminder.
Yeah, I just looked and that constant contact is the device, the vehicle we use for our weekly
Gotcha.
reminders.
Club Runner has a feature that you can use to do a simple newsletter. I get the Ruidosa Club newsletter every week, and it's just a Club Runner thing that they put out, and it has what you were talking about, has birthdays, anniversaries, speakers who are coming up, any important notes about meeting or not meeting, and those kinds of things.
And you can add additional mailing lists. Like you can add, like if you have an Interact club, you can add the Interact club to those bulletins, or your Rotaract club, or the charity you're working with. So you can program it so it goes beyond the membership. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've looked at that Club Runner thing. I think what we've been doing is came about prior to Club Runner developing that. And we've been doing this for probably the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Something similar to this.
Well, and it's personalized too. I mean, Anne interjects her own little humor. There's personal announcements. And we can keep it more en famille, you know?
Yep. Anybody else have anything they're doing well?
We have a small group, 9, and we're just all on a group email thing. So every time there's a message, we all get it. We can respond to it or not respond to it. And, the president is real good at keeping us updated at what's coming up in the next meetings or what we need to know ahead of time. So I think that's working well for our group, but we only have 9 people, so.
We're starting to, we're doing it internally. I'm noticing other clubs are using apps like WhatsApp and GroupMe and these other ways to like group chat with each other. Younger members kind of like that because it's on their phone, and it's easy to send out information and pictures and things like that. So we're starting to see a little bit more modern approaches of shared communication than what we used to use.
That's good.
A written newsletter is
the way that we
possible.
communicate in our group, and I'm in the same club as Jeff, Del Sol, and it's really important. Our weekly newsletter, if you will, is doubly important because we have a satellite group that Jeff is president of, and they meet on Monday evenings. We meet, the main club meets on Thursday in the morning at 7. And so this is a great way. Without the newsletter, there wouldn't be, and both are whatever the guest speaker is going to be, whatever's going to be happening is in that letter, so people know not only what happened last week. There's a little synopsis for both of the clubs, for both parts of the club, about who the speaker was, what they talked about, and then what's coming up in the future. And I don't know how we would live without that, especially because we have the satellite group on top of the regular club.
Well, that weekly reminder of our weekly newsletter is a lifeline, literally. Otherwise, we would have lost contact with what our club's doing.
Jeff, I think you touched on it a little bit earlier, but I think for us to get some of these younger members these days, which is one of our goals, is even an app and those kind of things that they can just go to get updates. Because I'm an mentor for Big Brothers Big Sisters. There's an app we just go to and we update and we chat back and forth and that kind of stuff and get updates of what's going on. But I think, I'm in the middle of that stuff age-wise, but I think that's something we got to look at in the future for the younger group.
Yeah,
I remember when I started interacting with millennials, and they basically said, "Don't expect me to answer the phone. Don't expect me to reply to an email. If you want to get a hold of me, send me a chat." And I thought, okay, that's fine. And then I kept hearing the same thing from other millennials. They all said the same thing. "Don't call me. I'm not going to answer." Don't send me an email, just send me a chat. And these group chats are nice because just like with group email, we're all in it together. It's one chat that goes to everyone. So, clubs use it for like upcoming meetings, service projects. You can share pictures. So, we want to be receptive to the younger generation. And it may not be one communication method for everyone.
Sure.
It took me a while to realize that the reason my daughter-in-law wasn't answering my phone calls. And I started texting her, and suddenly we had a good conversation going.
You take that personally, Reg? No, just kidding.
Yeah, well, I was wondering for a while, but then my own kids started doing it, and text was the vehicle of communication.
Yeah. What's the downside to that?
Hearing their voice and was less personal.
Yeah.
You can't have an interactive conversation in the way I like to have an interactive conversation. To me, it's sending letters. And but snail mail, writing a letter today is who are you? Why were you writing a letter,
Wait a minute.
Speaking of letters, Sunny has made a point, a number of trainings and events, and she does it herself, which I think is great. That all the email and chat and all of that is great, but if you're thanking someone and you send them a letter, snail mail, there's something that resonates. There's a sense of greater significance when you go through the trouble of composing a letter, putting the stamp on, and so on. So there are still times when that approach seems to work, and Sunny does a great job of that.
Well, I think even millennials will admit getting an honest to God piece of paper which says thank you on it is meaningful.
Yep. One of the things I'm doing is I'm sending all of my classmates who have just gone through the governor nominee training a little handwritten card. I'm sending them one of our district pins, and then I've got a pin from Roswell, actually. So I'm sending them a couple of pins and a little handwritten note. And I've heard from a few, actually, I've only heard from one of them so far, but they were really appreciative and said, what a great way to reach out and connect with us,
Yeah.
So we have about a minute or so left. What's going to happen is I need to leave first and go back to the main room and then stop the breakout room. So, I captured notes from what you all were saying. So is there anything else in the next minute that you want me to capture?
Don't stop.
Yeah, I just want to say from the time I joined, Meredith has been a very good person. Helped me connect with people. She sent me a card recently. We've met in person, I think, when it was still feasible to do so. And she's one person I can communicate with via text, via call, via email. So I really treasure that.
That's awesome. Okay. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm glad. That's my job.
And see, these 10 best practices we're going through, they're not silos. They are interdependent, right?
Yep.
So communication is a great strategy for engaging members. It's also a great way to get the word out. We talked about branding and all of that. So they all kind of weave together. And if any one of them is broken, it kind of ripples through and affects others too. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and leave, and we will reconvene in about a minute. Thank you.
Thanks.
See you shortly.
Hi.
Happen.
Okay.
All right, welcome back to the real world.
Haha.
All right, let's take maybe a minute and let's just hear like one or two highlights from each of the three groups. And for Sunny and Bob, if you did take notes or if someone took notes, if they just email them to me, I'll include them in the stuff that goes out later this afternoon. Sunny, why don't we start with your group?
Okay, Catherine Herman took a few notes and she will send them to you. We talked about everything. We talked about the importance of the fellowship in Zoom meetings and the use of phone calls and a newsletter to keep people informed. Facebook and websites, keeping them current, very important. Using breakout rooms and photos of everyone and making the meetings a party, all made a difference.
Party.
And service project, party. Wear a hat, bring a drink, dress up, have fun.
So one of the hats you can wear through Zoom is like this little red kind of cap. And I have a colleague at work that has the exact hat for that.
Really?
So she'll wear her actual hat and we'll all wear the Zoom hats. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, the French chapeau.
Yes, excellent. Okay, Bob, what about your group?
Bianca Cheney was our note taker, so I'll let her report out.
Okay. All right, I'll summarize. I thought you were going to talk, Bob. So we have a club that does a weekly bulletin. It's 2 pages, sends out a lot of information, local information, club members, includes RI information, district information. He sends that out with his weekly Zoom meeting reminder and has a pretty good attendance at his Zoom meeting. So that's kind of cool. We do Facebook and we have some people who are actually going out and meeting with their members one-on-one. Another option was to take your laptop and go see somebody who has not been able to attend a meeting. Take your laptop to them and then have them Zoom in with you to the meeting. So that was kind of a really great idea.
Yeah, we all recognize that a lot of people are getting zoomed out, and it's not going to get any better. It's actually going to get worse. So we need to explore other ways of reaching out to people and connecting.
Great, thank you. John, last group.
There we go. Yeah, we talked about the newsletter thing as well, and how printed newsletters have evolved to electronic newsletters, and how that can help, and you got to do it well. Reg, you're an angel. And other ways to not only keep your club involved and engaged, but also it can be used to go beyond your club to like your Rotaract club or your Interact club, keep them involved and stuff like that.
And Jeff pointed out that you have to be careful, or at least you be aware of that not everybody likes to communicate the same ways. The millennials, he said that the millennials, all they want to do is chat. He said they won't respond to anything else, and so you've got to be aware of that.
Okay. Thank you all for that. Bruce, when we get into your sections, depending upon how we're doing with time, we may want to do another breakout. It's up to you. We're going to go ahead and move on. I've got one more that I'm going to lead, and then Bruce will take over. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I wish we could do breakouts for all of these, but they just take more time. So we will try to be as interactive as possible. Okay, the fifth one, prepare members for future roles to smooth leadership transitions. Isn't that great? Smooth leadership transitions. So we've already talked some about this. We talked about succession planning and getting the future leaders involved early. We've talked about that a little bit. So other than what we've already talked about, what other notions about leadership transition can you think about, maybe from your own club experience, maybe something in your work experience about having that be a smooth transition? Thoughts?
In small towns, a lot of times you'll have great leaders that will come join Rotary, and they may be city managers or county managers or commissioners or whatever they are, and they're great leaders, there's no doubt, but they don't have the knowledge. And they seem to rise to the top in Rotary clubs just because they're leaders. But when it comes time for their tour, you know, to be the president, and it's usually within 2 years of the time they join, they, for some reason, they volunteer to do it and everybody agrees, right, rather than disagree. They don't apply because they're a commissioner or whatever power position they hold in a small community. They tend to let them have that role, but they don't have the knowledge. But most of them are smart enough to rely on their club board to help them through that process. But it really handicaps them in many ways because they haven't had it. They haven't been, you know, a chair of anything, and they haven't had the years of experience that's needed to run a club, and you know, haven't gone through the education process. And that's hard. That makes it harder for the club to be successful. But they usually are successful. It's just more steps, you know, more help, you know.
It's a very interesting point, and you know, I don't know if it's just limited to small towns, but have you been in a situation maybe in your club where a new member joins and they're just incredibly dynamic, and they're like, boy, that we need that person to be president, and they're on that fast track, and they don't have all that knowledge, and they're getting that water hose, you know, blasting them when they go to president-elect training because they don't even know much about what Rotary is yet. So there is that time when there's that acceleration, and it's important to groom them.
This is where we need to require new members to start the RLI during their first year, at least do the first session during their first year, and complete the RLI by the end of their second year. You go through that, you're ready to lead the club. You understand the purposes and goals and visions and ethics and ideas of Rotary, not just your own club, your little group of breakfast or lunch champions from your own town. You understand what it means to be a Rotarian. Then you're ready to lead.
So I will say from experience, because I'm in that situation, I've been in Rotary for a little over 18 months, and I'm ready for my president-elect year. And I got to do RLI, and I feel a whole lot better about going in because I completed RLI. Because up until that point, I had no idea all about Rotary. You know, you can't learn it all in a year. You can't. So having that opportunity to go through RLI and kind of prep for my year, because I wasn't supposed to be president until the next year, but somebody moved and I got bumped up the line. So it was good to have that lifeline and not so much panic when you go in.
Cool.
Awesome.
Testimony, Jeff.
Yes. And, you know, it's interesting. And Bruce, you're on. Bruce was kind of like our fearless leader that started RLI in our district. It initially was for the incoming leaders. But it was pretty evident early on that new members, even new members that weren't thinking about leadership, it was a great way for them to kind of get introduced to what Rotary is all about. So it kind of almost became like a new member training as well. And the idea of having, and I remember Bruce and I would facilitate an RLI session. Half the room would be people getting ready for their year as president, and the other half were new members just kind of getting their feet wet. And the dynamic between them was excellent.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like the yeses and the nos or the hads and the had-nots. They worked well together. It was wonderful. So
I like the term University of Rotary.
Do you recommend that the REI line? I took that, man, I took that probably 7 or 8 years ago, and it probably has been updated. Do you suggest that we start over and do that again, or is it the same thing?
Well, it's always different because you have different people
Different
engaging
people.
in it.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so it grows, even though the body of it is similar, it will always get richer.
Yeah.
Betty, every 3 years, the Rotary Leadership Institute, the folks that run that international, they come out with a brand new, with a new set of materials. Now,
Oh.
and so things get updated. Now, a lot of them don't get changed a lot, but they do keep up with changes that are happening at the Rotary International level.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah, perfect, Bruce. Thank you.
So
I
anything
just
else?
wish, I still wish you would call it something else. Leadership scares off the new member. Institute sounds like a fixed, sounds like the Citadel or something. And quit calling it district training. These are workshops, these are interactive, these are learning facilitating moments. It's not about training me to be a Rotarian. It's about empowering me to be a Rotarian.
That's true.
Good
We're going to
point,
call
Meredith.
Jeff a learning coordinator instead of a district trainer.
Yeah, that's very true. And there is a distinction. In fact, RLI goes out of its way to say, this is not part of your training for the district. It's separate. In fact, it's not even official Rotary. It's a separate program run by Rotarians, but it's not under the auspices of Rotary. So there's a lot more autonomy and flexibility and things like that. But they go out of their way to say, you know, it may feel like training, but it really is not, just like what you were saying, Meredith. Anything else before we move on to?
Yeah, I would tell you that that training is well worth your time. And I would tell you that I did it years ago when it was called the Rio Grande thing. But, and I was new, and I kind of felt that was my responsibility as a new Rotarian if I wanted to be engaged in it, to learn how to spell Rotarian by attending that training, right? So it was my second year before I finished it. It was very insightful and well worth my time. And now I've watched probably getting ready for Randall, our current president, to take over. I went back and reviewed all the different committee videos that are online. And that was inspiring again, because it told me stuff that I had forgot or reminded me of stuff. So there's ways to get educated, but many of our Rotarians are just not putting the effort in. And as we mentor them and sponsor them into Rotary, that should be the person who sponsors them's responsibility to engage them into those programs, along with the rest of the club supporting it. But I think many often the sponsors just get them in and said, I got that guy in or that gal in, and they move on.
One thing I learned, I did not have the president because he quit and I became no idea. So I got thrown into the frying pan. Okay. Now I did go through Rotary leadership. That was okay. What I did was that I am freaking out and I'm going, oh shit, it's stupid. But I'm leading this group. So what I did was I started reading the Rotary magazine. I read that every month. It's got some great ideas. And I was reporting from the Rotary magazine to the membership. Not the whole thing, but just certain snaps of it. Then I had told President, get on the Rotary website and spend 1 hour on Saturday. How hard is that to do? And I did that every week. I spent 1 hour on the website, in the international website. I looked up all the different programs. I learned those things as I went through. I got the pace and the energy and the excitement that international was doing down to the district, down to our level. And no, I can't right now. I'm tied up with something else, but I would not mind doing it again. I can't do it at this time, but those are my suggestions.
Great. So we're going to move on, but I'm going to take Meredith's suggestion to heart. You know, we talk about IBM all the time, but we never say International Business Machines, right? So RLI will just be 3 letters. We won't worry about what they stand for. It will just be a little word, and we'll just go forward, and we won't elaborate on what it is, just to clarify. Okay.
Jeff, you're great.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Bruce to walk us through the second half of our Be a Vibrant Club best practices.
Second half,
Well,
third.
Right, but in terms of the 10, there's 5 left.
Yeah, we split it up. And
Hi, Bruce.
okay, Jeff, if you can bring up the, real quickly. Okay, so we're at number 6 now, which is adapt your club's bylaws to reflect the way the club works. Before we start on this though, Jeff, I'm looking at my 5, and I think I'd like to do a breakout on the next one after this, which is develop strong relationships with your club.
Sounds good.
Yeah, okay, so real quickly. Bylaws. How many of you, I'm just curious to know, how many of you have ever been involved, or how many of your clubs actually take the time to give you an update on what the bylaws say? Raise your hand.
Not often.
Catherine did. Okay, Sonny's does. I don't remember, Rich, Jeff, I don't remember ever seeing anybody in our club go through the bylaws. Did you do it in your year?
Yeah, we had to change them our year, so we went through it.
Yeah, because I don't remember doing it in mine. And I followed Jeff, by the way. He twisted my arm.
Well, ours are printed in our annual directory.
Okay.
And reflect any changes that have come about. And in each section, it'll list the years that there were changes made. Right. It doesn't say from what to what, but at least the updated version is in there annually.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody knows it's in the directory or reads it, but at least it's there.
So in our club, the people that are closest to the bylaws, of course, is the board of directors, and they're going to, my guess is everybody's club's boards are up to date, but are they really keeping it up to date? Does anybody know of situation maybe they haven't been keeping it up to date?
In our club, the small club, they're updating it now. So I don't know how long it's been since it was updated, but their board is meeting before our next meeting. And then they'll present it to the rest of us then.
Okay.
But they're updating it now.
And Catherine, you raised your hand as well?
Yeah, we just had to update ours because Dean and I are going to be co-presidents, and we had a chance to look it over and understand what it is that the rules that we have to follow.
Right. Yeah, and I think what happens is the club presidents, if there's something major that changes, like one of the things that we had to do in our club, and Jeff is well aware of this since he was the impetus behind the satellite club, was we needed to go into our bylaws. And so when we finally were ready to institute this new satellite group, we did go over the bylaws for that. But sometimes what happens is you get a great idea. Somebody suggests something. It said, "Hey, let's start doing that," and it becomes a normal way of operating in your club, but it never makes it into the bylaws. And so that's something that your board needs to keep an eye on. Okay. So there's a template for that. There's a link that'll take you to the template. And if you look at the template, all it does is go through and give you the basic stuff, membership, dues, and that sort of thing. It's all there, and there's nothing much new about the sample that they have there. Any questions on the bylaws? That's just something you got to keep an eye on as presidents. if you're a president-elect, you want to take a look at your bylaws and make sure they're up to date. And then you'll have your board take a look at it and decide, okay, is there anything that we're doing now on a regular basis that needs to be in the bylaws, and take care of that.
Bruce,
Yes.
could you speak just for a moment to how that makes a club vibrant? Because it sounds kind of dry.
Oh, yeah, I don't, I think vibrancy is having the vision and having the wherewithal to make change. And so, but what happens is we get all excited about it, but we forget to document it. And all of a sudden you get, like 5 years down the road says, hey, we've been doing this for a long time, but I don't even remember, how it got started or anything like that. And you look in the bylaws and it's not there. We simply forgot to do it. Okay. So if you're a vibrant club, you're making changes in how you do things and things are getting better. Just remember, you have to document that.
Thank you.
I think also vibrant means it changes with the times, in that, a lot of times now people are voting electronically, right? By email, by text, whatever. And it never did talk about that because it wasn't part of the world.
No, that's true.
And so the vibrancy really is, how do you create it so that the new generations that are coming in can function? You're right. People talk about the people that only text. My daughter, if you call her, she may never answer the phone. You text her, she's talking to you instantly.
Yeah,
changing times.
It's a great point. What we are experiencing right now may never happen in our lifetimes again, hopefully, with COVID. And, but the point is, it could, wouldn't it be good, to put something in your bylaws and say, hey, just in case this ever happens again, here's what we did. And here's how we did it. And it's in your bylaws. And if 40 years from now or 30 years from now, we have another one of these, whoever's in charge then, I won't be around by then, but whoever's in charge can go back and look and see, oh, okay, here we have been, we've got an outline, we've got a plan of how we did it back then. And we, this happens, this is what we're going to do. So very good. Let's move on to the next one. This one, I think of the 5 that I have, I think this is probably the most important. And that is develop strong relationships within your club. And so again, what they produce here, they have a link to introducing new members to Rotary. This is so important. It's an orientation guide for helping to bring in new members and how to introduce them into the club. And then it talks about the fact is, you might want to consider sitting with different people at each meeting, and so that they can get to know their new people. Yeah, some clubs, most clubs, I think, do that. Not all clubs agree on that. But the idea is here, it's important to take the time to make sure that your new members are properly introduced to the club. One of Rotary's, I had the opportunity when I was membership chair for the district. I attended 2 Rotary International Rotary presidential membership meetings, one in Denver and one in Phoenix. And this was at the time when Rotary was finally realizing they had a serious problem. This is 2008, 2009 timeframe. They really had a serious problem. We weren't growing, we were going down, especially in the United States, in the number of members. And the statistics showed that of all the new members that come on board, only 50% of them are still in Rotary after 3 years. Okay. Only half of the people that we induct into our clubs are going to be there 3 years from now. And that hasn't changed. And so what I want to do is I want us to break us up in a group, Jeff, into our groups. And I want to talk about the different things that you do in your clubs to keep your members, your new members, to get them engaged, to get them involved, so they will stay after 3 years. What are you doing to introduce and make them feel comfortable and make them feel part of your club?
All right, so we're going to go ahead and break. It's 10 after 10. Let's take 10 minutes, Bruce. Is that okay?
That'd be fine.
And then we'll reconvene. Okay, here we go.
who we got on.
Same as the last one, except John had to leave.
Oh, John had to leave?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'll
That's right. He said he had to leave at 10.
Yeah. So how do you all deal with new members? What's your approach? What's working? What's not?
Well, the
Well,
Albuquerque Club
one
has
of
a
the
fairly-
first things that we do is assign an ambassador. This is in addition to the sponsor. And the ambassador has sets of materials, written materials. Reg referred to one of them, the University of Rotary, which is the 4-part. It used to be an in-person session, but it's now written. It's a history of Rotary International, the history of our club, the Rotary Foundation, and our own club foundation. There's a whole section on ethics. And then there's the section on community service, and it describes all of our committees, all of our activities, service within the club and outside the club. There's an orientation folder that new members get at the very beginning, as soon as they've turned in their application, that just sort of outlines how the club functions and their part in it. And the University of Rotary comes later. But the ambassadors ideally are to keep in close contact with the new members, make sure that they are coming to the meetings, whether it's on Zoom or in person, that they are getting involved, that they are satisfied with their experience of Rotary. So that's the idea of the ambassadors. Reg Ryder has been one. It doesn't always go the way it was designed, but what else is new when you're dealing with volunteers, right? But that's been really important. And then of course, we do have a red badge to blue badge program. There are certain things they're supposed to do: act as greeters, work, sign up for a committee, work on a project. And there's a ceremony at each stage. So that's what we do. And to bring them in the first place, we just encourage people, bring a guest, bring a guest, bring a guest. That's the only way you get new members. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, Kit, tell us about what your club does.
Well, I'm a new member, and they made me feel in part of them by including me in activities, asking me when I first joined what I would like to do, activity-wise with the club. And even though we had to do it over Zoom and not in person, they did a nice big induction thing, so it was kind of nice. And just including me in all the communications and, listening to me when I have ideas and telling me why it will work or it won't work, or they've tried that in the past. So just including.
Metro?
Metro, yes.
Yeah, okay. So smaller club. What are your thoughts? Do you think because how many in your club now? Last time I visited Metro, you only had 5 members.
We have 9 now. I'm 9. We're kind of growing. That's part of our 3-year plan, is to be out to maybe 15, 20 people, because all of us kind of like a smaller group. So, but it should be bigger than this to get things done.
Size, it's almost impossible not to get involved and to be assimilated into the club. It's the larger clubs, like downtown, like your club downtown. I mean, you guys really have to keep track. You have so many people. But on the other hand, you have tons and tons of different things for people to do. You have more subcommittees than we have committees total. It's incredible. Because I was your AG for 3 years. I was or 4 years, and it was incredible how many. Every time I go in, I'd sit down with Tom Walker and say, "Okay, how many different groups have we got this year?" So, Jeff, what is it? How about the Satellite Club? What have we done to retain the people in the Satellite Club?
Well, the Satellite Club is a lot like Metro. It meets in the evening and it's small. And it has a really good dynamic, a lot of energy. In fact, in many ways, the Metro Club was our model. Because we knew it was going to be an evening group, and I had gone to a number of Metro meetings, and I liked the dynamic. And so it's very similar. Yes, we have the Thursday group, and there are a number of Thursday group people like Bruce will come to our meetings, but our goal in many ways is to be like Metro in terms of the members we recruit and the energy and enthusiasm. There's a natural level of engagement with a small group. I think it's sometimes with a large club, it's harder to engage because it's big. So getting them into pockets of activities and projects like you all were talking about is great. With a small group, you are the committee. So you're already kind of naturally working together because you're smaller. So to me, Metro is our role model.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we do in our club, and we started doing this about 6 or 7 or 8 years ago, and that is when we have a prospective member, we sit down with them before they're brought into the club. And we either have a lunch or we have coffee or something like that. A couple of club members will go and we want to find out what they expect when they join Rotary. And the other thing that we stress is this is what we expect of you as a Rotarian in terms of participation, in terms of meeting requirements and attending meetings and that sort of thing. We want to make sure they know what they're going to get into, and we know what they expect to find when they're a Rotarian. We found that that's helped quite a bit. This all happens before we even start, before we even induct them. And the very first person we ever did this was because I sat in and had lunch with them. Actually, didn't join because she was a young mother, and when she heard, she says, "We meet at what time?" 7 in the morning. Okay, and she had young children, and she says, "This is something that I might want to revisit after my kids go to school. Right now, they're just toddlers." And so, or they're in preschool or whatever. So it just didn't work out for her. But we wouldn't have known that had we not got with them and find out what their expectations were, and she needed to know what we expected of her.
Bruce,
realized that wasn't going to work.
I'm going to leave the room in about a minute to reconvene the group. I have a very quick question for Reg, since Reg has been an ambassador. I am curious if in your ambassador role, you noticed a new member that you were mentoring, and you can kind of tell that it was not ultimately going to work out. Did that situation arise? And if so, how did you handle it?
Well, it's a kind of a measure of engagement. Are they attending the meetings, and what are they doing when they're at the meetings? When we were actually meeting in person, it was much easier to evaluate because you could actually talk to them face to face. You could get a measure of how excited they were about Rotary. I've had a couple of less successful ones, as Meredith will attest to. Frequent phone calls when they weren't getting back to me on the phone and things like that. Those are big indicators that they've just you haven't clicked with them. And it's a variety of reasons. One, they've gotten too busy, or one, they didn't think this was going to take that much of their time. This was kind of a passing thing. But the only fix to it is to keep reaching out to them and to talk to them about the steps that they're doing. And help them get through those steps, and it may be such simple that they don't quite understand what you're asking of them in the University of Rotary or are the steps we have to get through our process from red badge and things. And when they stagnate in that process, that's where you need to jump in and help them check that box off. It's just but engagement. It's the whole thing.
Yep. You got to get them engaged.
All right, so I'm going to
Yeah.
leave the room and then let everyone know that there'll be a minute and then we'll reconvene. Thank you.
Okay. See you shortly then. Hey, I want to hear from Billy. Bill.
There we go. Where's everyone? Okay.
Yeah, we're back. Okay. So let's hear from the other groups. I'll do mine last, and let's hear from the other breakouts. And what you talk about? What are your clubs doing in order to make sure that you're developing these strong relationships with new members? Sonny, you want to go? Who was?
Kathy, do you want to take this? You're muted.
I didn't realize I was taking notes for this one.
That's okay. No problem. We
But
forgot to make an assignment.
one of the things that that I did write down about this is that it's one of the last things that you said about past presidents and people who have done things for a long time and kind of sitting back once they've done their tour of duty, so to speak. It's to continue with inspiration and acknowledge what people have done in the past and reach out to those people for support and ideas for when it's your turn.
Thank you. Yes, Bruce, we decided to talk not only about keeping new members engaged, but also relationships with older members who've been there and done that. And with new members, getting them on a committee right away. And I heard this underneath everything, making sure the committee is active and effective and in relationship made a huge difference. Hugs of all sorts actually make a difference. And then staying in communication, watching for an empowering environment, having a mentor, and having everyone in the club have something that makes them feel they're contributing.
Right. Very good. Okay. Bob, did anybody take notes for your group? What'd you come up with?
Yeah, Bianca volunteered to be our spokesperson again.
You're on,
So,
Bianca.
in my notes, I typed "get new members on a committee early," and I actually put that in bold and red. So
Yeah.
that was the biggest thing. Different color badge for new members, and then so that everybody knows they're new, and having some incentives for that new member, things to do to get them to get the regular badge. That was a good idea. And the other one, the mentor, we talked about that a little bit. And the other one that I thought was really interesting was the sergeant at arms of a club would fine members of a table who did not have a guest or a new member at their table.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Our club used to do that all the time. I think we've kind of gotten away from that.
Wow.
Very good. Okay. In our group, which was basically the Downtown Club, my club, Del Sol, and Metro, we learned that the Downtown Club, they have a ambassadorial program, which I think, was that originally called the University of Rotary?
No,
Or is this separate
this
from
is
that?
in addition to it. University of
Oh, okay.
Rotary is part of it.
Okay. In addition to having sponsors or mentors,
right?
You have this. You have ambassadors who must be very well, I think, trained in or familiar with all the different aspects of Rotary. Okay, to help out the new members. And so, are they assigned? I meant to ask you.
Yes.
Are they assigned to a
Yes.
a new member? Okay.
They're supposed to be assigned. The preliminary application for the club is what we call a blue card. And as soon as we receive that, an ambassador is supposed to be assigned to get in touch with that applying member by the next week.
Okay.
So it's right from the beginning.
Yeah, that's so important. It's, my personal view is having, been a member of the Rotary now of my club for 20 years and been involved with it since its inception, almost in, 23 years. The idea was, or my observation or feeling was that we weren't doing early on, especially when we were at 80 members. We're at about 60 now. But we were as low at one point as 41 or 42. And that was right after the drop, when the stock market fell and everybody, back in
2008.
Yeah, 2008, 2007, 2008 timeframe. And we talked about the importance of getting people involved right away. Our club, for example, even before their members, we sit down with them and find out what their expectations are. And in some cases, didn't work out. And people that were looking to come realized, well, maybe this isn't really what I need right now, or am I going to be able to even participate based on what the club expects me, and we want to know what they expect of the club as well. So it's so important, mentorship. Absolutely important to assign somebody to our new members to make sure that they're not forgotten about. My view is that for years we did not have, in our club, for example, we didn't have mentors, and as a result, it was real easy. We get all excited and had a nice induction ceremony and everything, and then we kind of forget about our new members.
Yeah.
And that's why we lose them. So. Then we talked about with Kit, what's it like being in a small club? Our club, Del Sol, we have something similar with our satellite group, which only has about 10 people. So Kit told us, she said, basically, I don't have a choice. As soon as I came in, they had something for me to do because it's such a small club. They needed her badly. And so she was involved right away. Involvement, getting our new members involved as quickly as possible is the way to keep people in Rotary. And hopefully to meet their expectations, and which we're going to talk a little bit more here in the next section. So anything else anybody want to share before we move on? Just remember, this is one of the most important things I think from a membership standpoint that Rotarians can do, and that's to welcome their new members, make them feel comfortable, make them feel part of the organization. It's incredibly important.
Bruce?
Yes.
I'm sorry, was that you, Jeff?
Yes, but you can go first.
Well, strong relationships within the club is partly about being involved. I think it's partly about having people all genuinely feel liked. That they not only belong, but we care about them and we want to know how they're doing and we want to have a relationship with them. I think there's something really pivotal there.
Yeah.
I would just add to that. I think engagement, you can engage a group, but relationships are a person.
Nice.
Everyone is different.
Yeah.
And if you're a president-elect, it's good to think about both the ensemble of the people and then the individual.
Okay, very good. All right, let's move on. Jeff, if you'll bring up the next one. The next of our, on our path to vibrancy is number, let's see, this is number 7, number 8, is make sure all members are involved in activities that genuinely interest them. And this is, I think, somewhat connected to developing strong relationships. In other words, people join, they have expectations about what's going to happen. Well, and it's important for us to know what those expectations are. And so that we can help meet them and put them in a position that where they can do the things that they want to do in Rotary. People join, you know, and sometimes they get this general statement, just, well, I just want to serve, I just want to help my community. Well, is there anything in particular that you're interested in? Is there anything, you know, specifically that you want to do? Maybe we can create a service project around that. So one of the things that they suggest that in our path to vibrancy is to conduct a member interest survey. What are the things that you guys are interested in? Where do you want the club to be headed? You know, in what direction do we want to go to meet some of these expectations that we have? Those things, again, this survey would hopefully use the results to plan different projects, even activities, even social things. Maybe there's, you know, our club, for example, meets on a monthly basis, at least we did before COVID-19 hit. We meet on a monthly basis, and we have, it's called, let's see what I think of the name, where essentially what we do is we have a big potluck dinner. And we invite everybody. We usually end up with 20 or 30 people. One family hosts it at their home. Everybody else brings food, and we spend the evening together, usually on the weekend. And we do that all year round, okay? Or almost all year round. Now, obviously, Thanksgiving and Christmas, we don't do it in November, December. So again, get new members involved early by learning their interests and giving them a role in the club. One of the first things that we do in our club, and again, this is attached back to their strong relationships, is our brand new members, of course, our red badge. We give them a red badge. We have different colors as well. Until they meet red badge requirements, it's similar to the old SPUR program. Everybody familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. SPUR was special program for understanding Rotary. And we're looking at bringing that. Well, actually, we're not going to bring it back, are we, Jeff? But it's something that we looked at doing.
Well, we are. It's just going to be primarily through Learning Center and Rotary.org.
Well, that's what our University of Rotary is. It's an outgrowth of SPUR.
Steve has an original.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, that's it. And one of the things that we do in our club with our new members is we make them a greeter. In other words, we assign them to the fellowship committee, which basically the only thing the fellowship committee does is for new members to greet. We ask them to come in early because we start at 7. I'm there to help setting up at 6:15 in the morning. There's about 5 of us that do that. And we invite our new members to come in around 6:30 to be there when the first members come in. And we put them right by the door when they're coming in so they can greet them, so they get to know everybody. So they shake hands and welcome everybody that comes in that day. They do that at least 4 times.
And Bruce, I know we'll tuck that in our pocket for when we can meet again. I also want to mention that Zoom happy hours work pretty well too.
Yes, they do.
You know,
wear a hat.
It's surprising how well they work. We're having an ugly sweater one on the 15th of December.
Oh, let me write that down.
Yes,
ugly sweater.
You'll be getting an announcement. Ugly sweater Zoom happy hour for the district on December 15th. But you can do it with your club. You can do it with pieces of your club. It's so fun just to hang. just to be together even this way.
Bruce, Vicky raised her hand and then I had a comment. Vicky, go ahead.
Okay, Vicky, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So my name's Vicki, and I'm with the club in Presidio in West Texas. So we're a very small club. And I wanted to reference just two best practices from a different organization that I used to be part of when I was in DC. And one thing that we did for members to feel more engaged, and this is tied with the strategic plan. So when we were developing the strategic plan, there was, the example is the scholarship program that we created at that level. We had our objective and our specific actions, but on the actual strategic plan, we listed the person that was in charge of that. And we also listed, for example, the lead member was Fred, and member input, we included a specific statement on how people could be engaged on that specific goal or objective. And it ended up being that this individual that took the lead on the scholarship program, he was not always at our leadership meetings, but he was one of the most active and engaged people, mostly because he had this one thing that he was really in charge about and really passionate about. But putting it specifically on the strategic plan, listing that there's, this person that is tied to that specific program, but also an opportunity on how members could be involved in that program. And then the other thing that we did in that organization was also rotating facilitation. And I think this is more applicable now that we have Zoom. So when we would have our leadership calls, rather than the chair of the organization always being the person that facilitated the meeting, we would have a rotation of different members facilitating that meeting. So it was basically a shared leadership. So prior to the next meeting, we would always assign, okay, who's going to facilitate the next meeting? So they would be involved in the actual helping organize the agenda, the goals, and then at the meeting, they would be the ones that facilitated. So it was this rotating ability. And I think those two practices were really key for engaging and keeping people have the buy-in in one, what they were doing specifically for the club, but then also just being active in the club. So.
Wow, that's very interesting.
Awesome.
That's outstanding, Vicki.
Yeah.
How many people in your club?
Well, in our club, we have probably 12. And again, we're fairly new. And those two examples are examples from a national planning organization that I was part of, city planning. But our club's still fairly new, and we're just trying to be finding out how to reactivate it and be more active.
No, that's outstanding.
Oh, yeah. Good luck.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Just one thing that I think is relevant in this particular topic is that we don't really do a good job of promoting the Rotary fellowships and the action groups, because we think about club committees and district things, but oftentimes those fellowships and action groups are great fits for new members. We just have to make sure they're aware of them. And so just as part of the, learning their interests and trying to find a good fit, don't forget about those things that may not be club centric, but they're things that are within the Rotary world, because they're wonderful opportunities.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can give you a personal example of that. We just completed a zone institute last month, I guess it was, and one of the things that there's our area for Zone 26. Does everybody know what our zone is composed of now? Does anybody know that?
Yeah, it's like the western half.
It just changed.
Oh.
The zones and how they're set up, and of course, are all based on the number of members in the districts, because each zone is supposed to have the approximate same number of Rotarians in it. So as districts grow or shrink, the zones change. And so the most recent zone change, now our zone includes parts of West Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Southern California, a little bit of Nevada, and Hawaii. That's our zone now. And so the zone, we had the Zone Institute. We were married up with Zone 27, which is everybody north of us. And one of the things that I got called on was past district governor gave me a call, Linda Woodward, and she says, "You're a pilot, right?" And I said, "Well, I was. And I'm not, you know, I still fly balloons every once in a while, but yeah, I was a pilot in the Air Force." And she says, "I want you to lead." She was talking about one of the fellowships, and she says, "We're going to have the fellowships, a whole section for fellowships. I want you to lead a 1-hour session on flying." And I said, "Oh, okay." And then I found out after that there's already a fellowship for flying called the International Fellowship of Flying Rotarians. And I said, "Oh," and so I gave them a call and I invited them. I said, and they really wanted to be the ones to do this, but I got kind of shoved into it at any rate. But anyway, I invited them to be part of that. As a result of that, I joined. So I'm now a member of the International IFFR, the International Fellowship of Flying Rotarians. I don't fly anymore, but I love talking about it. Okay, you know, I know Bob does, and Bob and I did this together.
And just keep in mind that there are fellowships on all kinds of topics. I used to belong to the singles fellowship until I didn't qualify anymore. But, you know, you can take a look at the list on the RI website. It's fantastic.
It is a fantastic, and you know, if you like wine, there's a wine fellowship. If you like beer, there's a beer fellowship. There's a coffee fellowship. Just about anything. There's a golfing fellowship.
There are fellowships that are linked to the areas of focus as well.
Those are Rotary action groups.
Those are action groups. Yep.
Which is
they're kind of both.
Yeah, they're both.
They approach from different directions. Yeah.
One is more social fellowship type, and the other is more service project support. You know, water.
We do both, don't we?
I recommend both.
Yeah.
Service above self, but they're both included.
Yep.
Outstanding. So there's lots of things out there that we can make sure our new members are engaged, and our old members are engaged too. I like that idea about also the people that are, you know, our older members, to make sure that we maintain contact with them. Some of our older members don't have computers. They don't even have a cell phone. So this is a pretty tough time for them as far as keeping them engaged and connected to the club. Okay, so, any other thoughts on involvement before we move on?
We probably need to move on, don't you think?
Yeah, we got 2 more to go. Let's see, what's the, because we need some time for some including remarks. Okay, number 9, there we go. Coach in continuing members in leading. Now, what do you suppose, you know, why is this important, do you think? Okay, and one of the things that talks about here, there's a leadership guide. I'm going to talk about that real briefly here shortly. But there is a leadership guide, which is a basic, you know, it's basically lesson plans, basically, on how to introduce and develop members' leadership skills. But how many of you, for example, have professional development training in your clubs? How many of you have someone who's in charge of training in your club? Humberto. Okay, can you tell us about what you do in your club?
Yes, well, I am a business coach and I work with a group, sometimes giving this kind of training of leadership, and also another items that we work also. And there is another member that also works with me, that is Antonio Cachazo. He has a doctor degree and also worked with us in the group, providing us with this kind of training. And then all of this training help us to improve our relationships between us. But I agree with you. Leadership is very important.
Yeah. Okay. How many clubs have a training committee? Veronica, you raise your hand. Can we know if Berta does?
Veronica, did you
How
say
about
yes?
your club?
Our club has had a training committee for, I guess, 10 plus years. And it's been successful. Every year that we get a new trainer, it has a little slow start, but it has the same goal. And that is, as soon as we have a new member coming on, we welcome them, we train them, and we make them aware of all their possibilities within the local club and the district level.
Okay. Anybody else? Training committee. That's not one that shows up. Sonny, you have one in your club?
No, we don't. I was giving Veronica a thumbs up.
Oh, a thumbs up for Veronica. Our club used to have a training committee. In fact, I was the original trainer. I'll never forget the email that I got from the club president. I just happened to be teaching a course in Bangladesh. And I got an email. I used to work for the State Department part-time as a trainer for them. And so I'm on the other side of the world. I get an email from the club, from our new club president. And he says, he said, would you please put together a training program for our new members? We had one originally when the club was formed. We used the SPUR program, the special program for Understanding Rotary. But it sort of disappeared and fell out, I don't know what happened, but it just kind of went away. He says, we need a training program for our new members, an orientation program. Would you mind putting one together? Because he knew I was a trainer. And I said, sure, I'd be happy to do that. And he says, oh, by the way, you're going to be our club trainer. I didn't have a committee. It was just me. And that's how it got started. Not very many clubs have training committees or even a club trainer to talk about and to talk about leadership, among other things, and to help build a leadership development program within the club. Okay. So if you're interested, if you want to look further information, this coaching and continuing members, to me, the best thing to do is send them to RLI. Okay. We've talked about the importance of RLI. I know Meredith has mentioned that every time we get a chance to talk with her, she always talks about why it's so important to get through there.
And just to say, you don't have to be a president-elect to attend PETS either. And PETS
Correct.
is great preparation.
That's right. So there are numerous ways in which we can get people, the information that they need to be leaders or to help them in their leadership development.
Bruce, if I can just do a quick plug again for our Toastmasters Alliance. It is vibrant.
Yes.
And we already have learned a lot from them since we started the Alliance. They've been very helpful. I hope in return we'll be able to help them, but at least for now, they have been really critical. There's content in Rotary Learning Center from Toastmasters about leadership. So that alliance is going to bear a lot of fruit.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. So any other thoughts on training, as far as training committee or this leadership in action guide? I just wanted to point out one thing. If you use the link and you go to the guide, it's actually leadership in action. I don't know if you can see leadership in action, and basically it's an overview, and the overview talks about the importance of engaging your current members, how to attract community professionals into your club, and then there's a section on getting started with your program, and then it says download leadership in action. Well, don't we already have that? No, there's actually a series of training programs to help train people in your class on being leaders. There are, I think, 10 different leadership sections in there. And basically they're lesson plans. for your training committee to take, and and some of them can be as long as an hour long, some it could be as short as 30 minutes. Yes, Catherine.
Bruce, is this all in RLI?
No, this is not ROI. This is information that you can get from Rotary. Okay, you have a link. Jeff pointed out that in our there we go on our Vibrant Club pamphlet here on the back side where it has all the links. If you have this electronically, you click on the link, and it will take you to where this information is located at RI. Okay, Rotary International. Okay, and once you get in there, you can there's a link for leadership and action, and it will take you to all these different lessons. This is not part of RLI. This is separate.
Okay. Thank you.
This is specific training to develop leaders.
Bruce, just a quick announcement. We have one more module to go. When we finish, Billy has an announcement to make, and then we'll turn it over to Sunny and Bob for final comments.
Okay, okay, so we'll move on. Our last area is called creating practical committees for your club. We're not going to spend much time here because it's pretty obvious that large clubs and small clubs look at this completely differently in terms of practical committees. Excuse me. Obviously, a small club, and I'd like to hear, let's see, where's our, okay, thanks, Jeff. If we can go back to the, there we go. Where is, I can't remember, oh, Kit. How many committees does Metro have? You only have 9, you have 9 members, right?
Right.
Okay, how many committees? Do you,
I'm not positive. I think there's 3.
oh,
Like I said, I'm going to be the projects committee chairperson.
okay.
And I can't remember what the other ones are, but we don't have that many.
Okay, and our, let's see, who was just, oh, Vicky, Presidio, you have what, 11 or 12 people?
Right. Right, but we don't have committees. What we've done in the past when we had a specific event, we created ad hoc committees. So when we had a fall festival that we needed to have a booth, we just had a fall festival ad hoc committee, just because we're so small and there hasn't been really an opportunity to create standing committees right now.
Love ad hoc committees.
Ad hoc committee, yeah, when you need it, it pops up. You do what you need to do. So the gist of this in the practical committees is simply the difference between small clubs and large clubs. You get a club like, whoop. Hello.
All right.
So you get a small club. Everybody's involved. You have no choice, and some people may be in more than one committee. The challenge for the large clubs, like the downtown club, our club is considered large. They're very large, right? And the challenge is finding enough things for them to do. Well, I can tell you, after being an assistant governor for the Rotary Club of Albuquerque for 4 years, they've done that. Everybody in that club has something to do. As a result, they have a zillion subcommittees, right? But that's what you do what you do to get people involved, because that's part of that's part of how it works, and that's how part of keeping people engaged. Clint, how many people you got in your club? Haven't heard from you today.
Thank you. I think there's about 14.
Okay.
Of course, and that 14, since it's a small town, they're all pretty active.
Okay. How many committees do you have?
Well, that's one thing they're pretty strong on. So there's always a defined committee for almost everything we do. So half the people in there are committee members, which is kind of amazing. But so public relations, events, news media, Rotary Foundation in every project, because we do a lot of community and public events. So many I couldn't even name them off in my declining years as a senior citizen.
I got you. Okay. Well, thank you, Clint. Thanks for joining us today. Okay, so just long and short of this is your small clubs, you don't have a choice. People are going to get engaged because they have to. You've got so few people. Large clubs, it's more of a challenge to get everybody involved. I think the Downtown Club has done a pretty good job of that. I think our larger clubs, Del Norte and our club, we do a fairly good job of that as well.
Bruce?
So with that, Jeff, I'm done, and we can turn it over to Sunny or whoever needs to.
Just a final thought on this one topic. I would urge you and your club leadership, if you're going to use this Be a Vibrant Club brochure, when you get to this module, please focus on the word practical. Don't just have a committee to have one. Have it have a purpose. We talked earlier about maybe every committee should have a goal. I love that notion. Why not? So let's see. Billy, why don't you go ahead and make your announcement, and then we'll turn it over to Sunny and Bob to close. You're on mute.
Yeah, I'm trying to. How about that? Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful session. I think I've benefited a lot from the training. I joined, like I said, in May, and things were different. I've not had my PIN yet because of some of the things we have been experiencing because of the shutdown. But other than that, I want to say my transition to the Rotary Club of Albuquerque has been, I think, very enjoyable. Meeting very wonderful people and making a lot of connections. Just for your information, I work at the University of New Mexico, but I am originally from Kenya, and I'm helping set up a Rotary Club in my community. Currently, we have about 20 people who have signed up. I've been meeting for the last 6 months. So we have a mother club about an hour and a half away. We hope by mid-2021, we shall have received a charter. But the reason I'm here, I wanted to make a small announcement, is that I'm so passionate about health programs. I'm putting up a community health center in the community. We are also working on a water supply for the community. We have a lot of water conflicts between the farmers, the people, and our health center supply. If anyone, any club is interested in partnering on these health programs, I'm going to put my email in the chat, and you can be in touch. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Billy. Thank you for joining us. Let's see, Bob and then Sunny.
I'll leave most of my comments to Sunny. I just want to thank everybody. I appreciate your taking the time this morning to join us to get this great content that Jeff and his team has put together. I want to congratulate Vicky for probably zooming in from the farthest distance. So well done there. And I wish everybody a happy holiday, and however you celebrate your holiday, please enjoy it and stay safe.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Jeff and Bruce, for facilitating our meeting. Thank you all for being with us this morning. We know it's not a small thing to get on Zoom at 8, and you've been valiant. You've also contributed a great deal to us and to one another. What I want to say to complete is just an appreciation of the opportunity here, because sometimes we would have to travel great distances and get a hotel room and spend a like this. And so being able to be together is always enriching. And we know that there's a represented on all. I always assert that we can get even better just by being together and sharing ideas. This is a gift we give ourselves, this meeting. So thank you so much for being a part of it. I look forward to hearing everything you're up to. I hope you'll share it widely with me and with the district Facebook page and with the newsletter. Thank you all.
Thank you. And if you took notes during the breakout, please remember to send them to me, and I will include them in the package that will be sent out later this afternoon, including a YouTube recorded version and a survey so you can let us know how we did and how we can do better. Thank you all very much.
Hey.
Thank you, Jeff. And Bruce.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank
Have a
you.
good weekend. See you.
Thank you, everybody. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Bye.